News Radio 700 WLW.
Percolating around the world in and of itself are a lot of issues, not the least of which is the government shutdown, which is now into its second month. And at the core issue right now for Republicans is just to get the government up and running again. Just have the Democrats do what they have done consistently over time, and that is vote on a clean resolution. Don't junk it up with anything. Just get government workers paid and let the country keep rolling along. But of course, that's not what Democrats are doing this time. They seek any opportunity for disruption, and their disruption right now is some form of medical plan payment, whatever, for people who are in this country illegally, particularly as it pertains to Medicaid, and also the continuing funding that's needed for Obamacare, which expires at the end of the year. They'll say, okay, let's talk about Obamacare, and then we'll get the CR passed. Let's make this part of the CR, and then we'll get everybody up and running, the air traffic controllers and the federal government, the police, and whatnot. Let's just get that in there in the CR. Of course, this is a complete departure from what Democrats have done over the course of time. Nevertheless, both sides are dug in. SNAP funds now could be the first casualty of this government cut down. This is food assistance for about 42 million Americans who need food assistance. There are people in this country, believe it or not, that are not doing as well as you and me, and they need help. But, of course, this is the victim of this government shutdown. And now, of course, we've got judges that are popping up. Oh, God, I was wondering if these federal judges were okay. Apparently they are, because now we have whack-a-mole going on with federal judges, amazingly all appointed by Democrats who have stuck their noses into all of this. So you've got moral issues, which is getting people fed. You have political issues, which is, if you're the Trump, you don't want to come down on the side of not feeding people. And you have a judicial issue. You have legal issues with all of this. This is a confusing story, I know, but I know somebody that can lend credence to it and clarity, and he's standing by to join us. This is a man who has never lost a trial in his life. He is widely referred to as America's attorney. This is somebody who, when he walks into a courtroom, judges nod in deference, and opposing attorneys look at their clients and just tell them, take the deal, take the deal, take the deal, take the deal. This guy never loses. He, of course, is our good friend, Jeremy Rosenthal. And Jeremy, how are you on this glorious Saturday?
I'm great. Can we maybe simulcast this in Fort Worth and Tarrant County, Texas? I've got a couple of prosecutors who need to hear everything that you just said, because I'm working this weekend. I'm at my desk, and we're getting ready, man. We're getting ready.
Good for you. Good for you. Yeah, I'll do it. I'll put it on your answering system, whatever you need. Weren't we done? Did we not have some sort of Supreme Court ruling that these federal judges, who they must have firecrackers up their rear ends that get lit every so often? Weren't we led to believe by the Supreme Court that all of these people need to stay in their lane? And now we have the same judges that are popping up again. You've got the three I mentioned. I didn't mention John McConnell, who was an Obama appointee in Rhode Island. Judge Indira Talwani from the District Court of Massachusetts, an Obama appointee. Those are the two that are SNAP consumed. And then, of course, it wouldn't be a weekend without the U.S. District Judge Colin Collar-Cutelli completing the mythical trifecta, who ruled from the bench that Trump's requiring proof of citizenship to vote is illegal. Weren't all these judges told by the Supreme Court, stay in your lane? Or did I miss something here? Did I miss something?
The lanes are extraordinarily big. So the Supreme Court ruling that came back earlier this year, what had happened was that judges were enjoining rules and laws nationwide based on one claimant, one plaintiff. And what the courts came back and said is that the courts can only solve problems for people who are in court, who are in front of them. And in some instances, for the plaintiff, for somebody seeking that type of relief, it's easy, and in others, it's hard. And so it just depends on who's the claimant, right? When the claimant is the state of Colorado, right? Everybody in Colorado is sort of subject to that, and so it's easy for judges to take action based on really large swaths of people and groups. This is why you see 22, 23, whatever it is, states that are joining this lawsuit, plus this group, plus that group, plus, all these other entities. And by and large, in most instances, it'll cover as many people as they can. So that's the new trick, if you will, to try to get these judges to exercise jurisdiction, if you're the plaintiff, over as broad a group as you can.
Mm-hmm. I understand that. And of the states you mentioned, they're all led by Democrat attorney generals. So that's how this is landed, in this case, on John J. McConnell's desk, along with Judge Indira Talwani. That's how it landed on their desks. All right, but in my intro, I said there are three things here. There's the morality of this, the moral obligation to feed people who cannot eat for whatever reason, and it's a significant number. There is also the political implication. Looking at Trump, I mean, he's not stupid. He may be a lot of things to a lot of people, but if he tries to block what these judges are doing at the Supreme Court, all of a sudden he's starving almost 50 million people. Not good politically. And then you have what's going on here legally. So if you factor all of those things together, I can't see Trump taking what Indira Talwani and John J. McConnell did and appealing to the Supreme Court on this. Can you?
It may be a little bit of throw me in the briar patch, right? And so you're seeing, the government shutdown here. Every politician in Washington is hitting reload on their browser to see what the polls are saying, who's getting blamed for this, right? And I don't know if the shutdown has affected you. I don't know if it's really affected me. I took a trip last weekend. I sat on the runway for what I thought was a long time. In my mind, I'm wondering if that's because the air traffic controllers aren't getting paid. But look, I mean, if you're in federal court, you're noticing that things are winding to a halt. If you are the beneficiary of a federal program, then you're probably noticing that things are winding to a halt. If your spouse works for the Social Security Administration, then you're noticing things are grinding to a halt. And the longer and longer this drags out, the more and more people will begin to notice, right? And that's where the political blame is really sort of taking shape. So yes, it's a bad look to not feed 42 million people, children and elderly people, and underprivileged and mentally handicapped and mentally ill and anything and everything. So I think everybody wants to get them fed. Nobody wants to take the blame for not feeding them, right? The Democrats don't want to get blamed for shutting down the government and ending this thing. And Trump doesn't want to get blamed for, by taking this thing all the way up to the Supreme Court to make sure that people can't eat. Everybody recognizes that this program is a bit of a hostage.
Yeah, and again, it's these same judges. I mean, Indira Talwani, we heard her before on immigration. This John J. McConnell seems like he's at the very least compromised politically. I mean, my God, the guy held various Democrat state committees in Rhode Island. He was the treasurer of the Rhode Island Democratic State Committee and begged two sitting senators to appoint him to the district court in Rhode Island, Jack Reed and Sheldon Whitehouse. It seems to me that this is the old trick. What you don't get at the ballot box, you go to court and try and get a judgment there. And if I'm the other side of this, I'm thinking, well, you know what? Okay, they get this. Then what's next? What's the next lawsuit that comes down the road? And pretty soon, whatever political capital that you gained in November of 2024 is slowly eroding. This is an old trick, is it not? What you can't get at the ballot box, let's see if we can get it in a courtroom.
Are you saying that we don't need lawyers and that we don't deserve to be the best and make all the money and all that and the planet, which you were saying earlier? No.
I have no problem. But believe me, in our legal system, I have no problem with lawyers and prosecutors. I got problems with judges because I think at the very least they arrive at the bench, and you don't need to comment on this if you don't want to. At the very least, they arrive at the bench. They arrive compromised because they're either there by getting elected where they have to raise funds and go into the community and try and get money out of people they may have to issue judgments on down the road, or they're appointed by the old boys network. I don't think this country does a very good job, and I don't know what the answer is of putting judges on the bench, whether it be local, whether it be federal, but be that as it may, yeah, we need lawyers. I think we need them, but I think that this is just, to me as a citizen, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, we don't get our way, let's go sue. And let's put somebody in a corner where there's no possible way out of it. So I think it falls on Trump. He's got to extend an olive branch of some kind to get this thing going again, because it's going to help nobody if people aren't getting fed. But I think the last thing anybody wants is to have federal judges just banging the gavel and issuing decrees for the entire country to follow when their lane is Rhode Island. I think that's my problem.
Right. Right, and we've talked about this before, Ken. Being a judge, there's no way to get a judge that's not a political function, right? There's just no way to find somebody anywhere that's not elected or appointed or somehow put in their position by something that's not political in some way. Not the Supreme Court, not the county court at law in Collin County, Texas. There's just no way to have that work that's not going to be political. It's just a side of it. And when we kind of talk about, again, kind of going back to what you were saying about the shutdown, this is what we're doing is we're controlling the bleeding, right? And as we're going to see more and more and more of these things, as certain pools of money dry up, as certain pools of needy people have their head on the chopping block, right? In this instance, it's the SNAP funds. So as this thing goes on and on and on, everybody's bleeding out, right? And the politicians will, I think, come together when they see that, okay, now it's going to hurt me. When the Democrats look at this, or the Republicans look at this and say, okay, we're taking the blame for this. The Democrats are gambling that healthcare costs and prices, if those begin to make people hurt, they're gambling that they're going to blame the Republicans. Obviously, Donald Trump, to your point at the beginning of our conversation, he's kind of hoping that people see it his way. That, look, it's the Democrats that are taking this program hostage, not me. And so as this thing sort of goes on and the bloodletting continues, at some point, you would think that the politicians are going to say, okay, you do that and you do that. And then here we go, and we're going to get this thing cranked up again. So this is Exhibit 7, right? This SNAP thing. We've already been through it with the federal employees. We've already been through it in several different sectors. So yeah, this is just sort of how this goes. And if you're the Democrats right now, you don't have either house of Congress. What you got are the courts. So that's where you're going to go.
Yeah, well, you got the usual suspects sitting behind the bench. Now, this beauty on the U.S. District Court, I guess in D.C., she, by the name of Judge Colin Kohler-Catelli, we remember her from the immigration situation. Trump wants voter registration. You have to show an ID when you vote. What a concept! You got to do that when you get on an airplane. Why wouldn't you want to do that if you want election integrity? But she said no, that's not right, and he doesn't have the right to issue that kind of executive order that would require voter ID. This one, I think, does go to the Supreme Court. I don't think the other one does. I think that everybody is in agreement that these 42 million people somehow, some way, need to get their federal assistance for food. But I think this The other judge, this Colin Collar-Catelli, her edict this week, I think this is going to the Supreme Court. Do you agree?
It could. These executive orders certainly are more broad-reaching, and they bring up novel issues that we've not really confronted anymore. Not the least of which is what's the extent? What is the extent of an executive order, and where does that thing really live in our laws? It's not a statute, right? And it's not necessarily a court order or anything like that. And so executive authority has certainly been the hottest topic, I would say, of 2025 as far as the courts are concerned. So this is going to be probably yet another test of that. It's interesting too because and a lot of issues, not only the executive's authority, but we've also had a lot of issues that deal with federal sovereignty versus state sovereignty. Elections are something that the states have typically exercised control over. The feds can kind of come in and watch, but states typically are able to conduct elections in the way that they want. They have for just by way of example. I watched something the other day about ranked choice voting in Alaska, and that thing I'd have to read that 7 times to make sure I didn't screw up my ballot, because you get to do a first choice and a second choice and a third choice, and then they put it in the computer, and then here's your winner, and sure, okay, if you say so. There's certainly novel issues, and I think you're probably right. For no other reason than, again, kind of going back to the very beginning of our talk, Trump losing at this level is probably a little bit of throw me into the briar patch.
Exactly. And by the way, no matter how many times you screw up rank voting in Alaska, you still wind up with Lisa Murkowski. Jeremy Rosenthal, it's great to have you on a weekend where I know you're working, probably on a Murder One case or something right now. So I appreciate your time. You are America's attorney, and it's great to talk to you again. You have a great rest of the weekend, Jeremy. We'll be in touch.
Go Red Raiders. We're going to be in the Big 12 championship. We'll see if the Bearcats can make it or not.
All right. Already drinking at this hour in Texas, our good buddy Jeremy Rosenthal. Stay well, my friend.
You too. Bye-bye.